Council will move on to disclosures of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Pecuniary interest, I see none. Any business arising out of the minutes? No minutes tonight. Moving on to public meetings, and we will start with the one to consider a consent application B-05-19, B06-119, or 19, sorry, B07-19, and zoning bylaw amendment ZBA number 187, and those refer to 803 and 813 Mercy Road 6. Oh, yes. And before we start that, we're going to start with the housekeeping matter from Ms. Percy. Thank you.
Thank you. Those wishing to receive written notice of Council's decision to pass a bylaw related to these applications must make that request to the Clerk of the Corporation of the Municipality of Leamington. Information on Council's decision to pass a bylaw related to the applications being considered this evening will be published on the municipal website. Please note that requesting a copy of Council's decision to pass a bylaw does not satisfy the requirement to maintain appeal rights to the local planning appeal tribunal of any decision of Council. A person or public body must make an oral submission at the public meeting or make a written submission to Council before a decision is made in order to maintain appeal rights to the local planning appeal tribunal.
Thank you, Ms. Percy, and we'll move on to Darian Branch, who will be delivering this report.
Okay. Can you guys hear me? Sorry. Okay, good. I don't know. It's the famous line, right? Good evening, Council. Before us, the applicant purchased 2 abutting farms, and they merged into one property. So this large farm has 2 dwellings with several outbuildings. The applicant is proposing to take the now 1 farm property and turn it into 4 properties. He proposes to sever 2 vacant farm lots, 1 surplus dwelling lot, and retain 1 farm lot with a dwelling and several outbuildings. So now I'm going to describe each of the proposals separately. So the first farm split proposes to create a flagpole-shaped vacant 31-acre farm parcel. The severed parcel is proposed to be rezoned to a site-specific A1 zone to reduce the minimum required lot frontage by 91 feet. The reduced lot frontage can be supported for the following reasons. Number 1, it provides enough space for the existing driveway that serves the farmland behind the greenhouse development at 725 Mercy Road 6. It maintains existing crop production of the farmland beside the driveway, and it can accommodate future municipal services to the parcel. So the proposed farm split is consistent with the PPS, it conforms to the county and Leamington OP, and it complies with the zoning bylaw. The second farm split, the centerpiece, proposes to create a vacant 25-acre farm parcel. It meets the land division policies as well and complies with the A1 zone. The third proposal seeks to create a surplus dwelling lot that's just over 1 acre in size and consists of 1 dwelling and some accessory buildings. The surplus dwelling lot will be is proposed to be site-specifically rezoned to recognize the resulting residential use of the lot and to permit a 5.5% increase to the maximum permitted lot coverage for the accessory buildings. The increased lot coverage can be supported for the following reasons. Number 1, the accessory buildings are built very close together. Can you hear it? Okay, sorry. The accessory buildings are built very close together and function as one unit. The accessory buildings are built in very close proximity to the dwelling, and there is existing hydro, water, and gas from the dwelling to the accessory buildings. The proposed surplus dwelling lot meets the land division policies and complies with the zoning bylaw. The retained farm parcel will have an area of 25 acres and includes 1 dwelling and several large outbuildings. This farm parcel is proposed to be rezoned to a site-specific A1 zone to prohibit new residential dwellings. We received comments from IRCA, but they have no concerns. Administration did receive 1 comment from a resident who does not wish to see greenhouse development on the subject lands. However, greenhouses are permitted in the A1 zone. Administration is in support of the 2 farm splits and the surplus dwelling severance. The list of detailed recommendations can be found at the beginning of my report. As well, with all consent applications, we are recommending a number of standard conditions of approval. These conditions can be found at the back of my report in Schedule A, B, and C. That's all.
Thank you, Darian. Well done. Council, are there any questions you'd like to ask? Councillor Dunn?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Darian, the only question I have is that as you split these farms down, if they were sold off separately, would they be allowed to have a surplus residential lot in the future? Like you're taking one off the third portion, but you'd have two other farms that are 25 acres. If they haven't had a lot taken off already, would they be allowed in the future?
No, they wouldn't. There's the one, they would not be supported by administration for the main reason that the houses have to be built prior to 2007, I do believe, before the adoption of the plan. So that's number one. There's also several other criteria they have to meet. They have to have the minimum 4.7 acres, and just other considerations for every application is considered on its own, but there's a number of criteria in the OP, and the biggest one is the construction date. I think that would be the biggest hindrance.
Okay, if there are no other questions, I'll ask if the applicant wishes to speak. No? Okay. Does council have a question for the applicant? Any member of the public here in regards to this application? No one? So then council, seeing as how there is no one speaking, oh, you do have a question. Okay,
Just
Deputy
so
Mayor.
if we move the suggested recommendation, we're moving all of the 7 bullet points?
That is correct.
Okay, I'll move the recommendation.
Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Wilkinson. Comments, questions? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Moving on to the second public meeting, and that is to consider consent application B08-19 and the zoning bylaw amendment, zoning ZBA number 188, and that is in regards to 612 County Road 37. And again, you, Darian, thank you.
So the owners of 612 County Road 37 have applied to sever a parcel of land that includes a large steel barn and the treat area at the rear of the property to be added to the abutting property. The reason being that the barn doors are located on the east side of the building, and the only access to the barn is currently through the driveway at 610 County Road 37. The applicants also consider the treat area at the rear of the property to be unnecessary for residential uses and wish to see it consolidated with the treat area at the rear of 610 County Road 37. The proposed lot addition is consistent with the PPS. It conforms to the county and Leamington OP and complies with the zoning bylaw. Administration is in support of the proposed lot addition and rezoning of the severed parcel from A5 to A3 so that it matches the parcel it is consolidating with. The recommended standard conditions of approval for the lot addition can be found in Schedule A. That's
Thanks again, Darian. Council, are there any questions of administration? I see none. Do the applicants wish to speak to this? No. Do you have any questions for the applicants? I'm not there yet. No, I was wondering if you wanted to ask a question of the applicant. No? Is there anyone here from the public that wishes to speak to this? No? Okay. Then we're on to the motion. Supported by the recommendation, supported by Councillor Wilkinson, seconded by Councillor Dunn. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Moving on to the public meeting that considers consent application B-43-18 and zoning bylaw amendment number 184, and this all refers to 1209 and 1211 Mercia Road 7. So again, Darian.
So the farm located at 1209 and 1211 Mercer Road 7 consists of 2 dwellings with a garage, shed, and a barn. Administration received an application to sever surplus dwelling lot from the farm. The severed lot will include a dwelling addressed as 1209 Mercy Road 7, along with the garage and metal shed. It is proposed to be site-specifically rezoned to recognize the resulting residential use of the lot and permit a 46-foot increase to the maximum lot frontage. The purpose of the large lot frontage is to include the metal-clad shed with the surplus dwelling lot without creating an irregular-shaped lot. The increased lot frontage can be supported for the following reasons. Number 1, the garage and shed are an appropriate size to be used residentially. Both buildings can be easily accessed within the property lines of the proposed surplus dwelling lot. The proposed increase to the frontage does not take further agricultural lands out of production. The area between the shed and the front property line is very small and is too close to the dwelling to be tilled, to keep livestock, or otherwise be used agriculturally. The retained farm will include a dwelling, the barn, and approximately 47 acres of farmland. The retained farm will also be site-specifically rezoned to prohibit new residential dwellings. Administration is in support of the proposed surplus dwelling lot, is consistent with the PPS, conforms to the Leamington and County OP. Both the severed and retained lots will comply with the zoning bylaw. Details of the recommendations can be found at the beginning of my report, and the recommended standard conditions of the surplus dwelling lot for the surplus dwelling lot can be found in Schedule A at the end of the report.
Thanks again. So, Council, do you have any questions of administration this go around? No? Oh, Councillor Thiessen.
Just a quick question, Darian. Is there currently a culvert crossing the Lebo Creek drain for access to the back part of the farm, or does that need to be installed yet?
That is installed. If you look at the, I don't know if Brianna, do you have the survey? If you follow the property line to the back, you can, maybe.
Is it straight, is it?
It's straight
under
back
the-
down the driveway from 1211. If you
It
go
is there,
straight back.
okay.
In between the garage and the tobacco barn, there is an existing culvert, and that's why that property line just kind of evens up and it goes just to the western side of the concrete
Yep.
culvert.
That's good, thank you.
Do the applicants wish to speak to this at all? No? Okay. And anyone from the public? We're running out of people. So I'm assuming there isn't anyone here to speak to this. Well then, Council, moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Thiessen. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Darian, as well. Okay. Moving on now to the DeBerg Drain, Section 65. Luann, turn that over to you.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Council might recall, this is for the Highline Mushroom property. We are looking at doing a drain relocation on that property for their new development. But since that report is quite lengthy and time-consuming, we decided to, instead of stopping or slowing down the development, we would separate the drainage reports into a 65 and a 78. So this way, stormwater management can be reviewed and approved, and they can start working on their storm ponds. So part of this report includes taking in a new parcel of land into the existing drain because their existing stormwater management system would go into a private ditch and then outlet to the Peely Creek. However, with their new storm design, they're going to be taking it back to the DeBerg drain. So the engineer has reviewed the DeBerg drain, and it does have capacity for this new acreage. They've also taken into effect that the increased flows and have changed their assessment accordingly. There is no buy-in fee at this time since the drain has also not been maintained in quite some time. So there is no more life expectancy of the current drain for maintenance. All costs associated with this project will be assessed to those owners, and there is no municipal share of this project, nor any changes to the future maintenance charges to the municipality. We're asking council tonight to adopt the engineer's report dated January 8th, 2019, from the engineer.
Thank you, Luann. Are there comments or questions? Councillor Thiessen.
Luann, they're adding about 35 extra acres into, a little bit more than that, almost 40 acres into the DeBerg drain, and you say it has enough capacity. Is that with the stormwater management plan in place, or does it currently have that amount of capacity?
It's taken into account their new stormwater management system. So their existing stormwater management will be improved. So that's what they're factoring in. So the reduction of the storm pond.
So then, through you, Madam Mayor, will the stormwater management, with the plan that's in place, will it require digging retention ponds? Is that the plan?
Yes, if you look at the map directly south of the roll number 660038, that's where the entire new drain will be, along the south property line. And there'll be a pond running along that whole length as well.
Okay, and then that will be dug prior to the realigning of the drain, or will that all happen at the same time?
I want to say it's going to happen sooner because just the length of the drainage report. The drainage report should be coming shortly, but due to timing with vegetation and ditching, they might be digging the pond sooner.
I guess, again, through you, Madam Mayor, I guess my concern is that if it's not done prior to or at the same time, and if you say that the drain is at the end of its life as far as maintenance goes, and I did drive by there today, and you are right, it's at the end of its life, I'm just concerned that there would be flooding in that area, possibly, before they are able to get their stormwater management.
Unfortunately, though, they won't be able to build their buildings until the old drain or the new drain has stabilized banks. So the old drain will still be in existence. And where the old drain is right where the new structures are going to be.
Okay.
So there won't be any construction happening. Like, they might dig a pond, but there's not going to be any new water coming to it at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, if there's no one else then. Moved by Councillor Thiessen, seconded by Councillor Wilkinson. All in favor? And that's carried. Moving on to the EF-Ives drain. Luann?
Thank you. Council might recall back in February of 2018, appointing Root Engineer to prepare a Section 76 report. This is on the EF-Ives drain from Mercia Road 3 outletting to the Sturgeon Creek near the bypass. I wanted to perform some drain maintenance on it. However, the current report wasn't updated to provide me the capacity to complete the maintenance. So council appointed Root Engineering to prepare that report. After which time we held a site meeting, and one of the landowners is now requesting an extension of his access for future greenhouse development. So the Section 76 report doesn't allow for any construction. It only allows for updating of assessments. So we're coming back to council to amend that appointment to appoint the engineer under Section 78. This way he can provide construction details for the access and still provide an updated assessment schedule. The cost will still be incurred by the landowners of the new assessment schedule once presented to council. We're hoping that'll be presented by the end of April to you. So the recommendation in front of you is to change the resolution from a Section 76 report to a 78 report.
Thanks again, Luann. Comments, questions, or motion? Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Dunn. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Luann. Appreciate it. Moving on to the Hometown Heroes Banner Project. Ken Brown. And will you be bringing your associates with you?
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. So yeah, first off, I'd like to introduce Jerry Ribble and Mark Ribble. So they're members of the Leamington Veterans Banner Committee who initially approached the municipality regarding this project. They have brought a sample banner and will be available to answer any questions that council may have after. So the Leamington Hometown Heroes Banner Project is intended to pay tribute to local veterans and active service members through the displaying of the banners. The intent is to engage the community in honoring and remembering local veterans. The initiative will be managed by the Leamington Veterans Banner Committee, which is a committee made up of local citizens. The banners will be funded through individual sponsorships at a cost determined by the committee, which I think right now it's approximately a little over about $120 for the banners, but they're going to look at the cost and just make sure that it's kind of all-inclusive. So the municipality would then accept the banners from the committee on an annual basis and display them from early October through to mid-November. Upon removal, the banners would be returned to the committee for safekeeping until the next display season. Each banner will be in honor of a specific service person with a connection to the Leamington area. Sponsors would contact the Leamington Veteran Banner Committee to arrange for payment and the fabrication of the banner. So in consultation with the Leamington administration, the committee has selected Mill Street from Fox Street to Dieppe Park as the area to display the banners. And this area can accommodate about 50 banners. And the intention of the committee is to limit this first phase of the program to this number of banners, and then the committee may elect to expand the program in future years. So the banners will be sized to fit the existing banner brackets in Leamington. As a contribution to the initiative, the Leamington BIA has graciously agreed to fund additional banner brackets where required. It is recommended that the municipality would complete the installation at no cost to the committee. The estimated cost for the Public Works Department to receive, install, remove, and return the veteran memorial banners would be approximately up to a maximum of $1,000 annually. So the recommendation is that the municipality of Leamington partner with the Leamington Veterans Banner Committee to initiate a hometown hero banner project in Leamington, and that the Public Works Department be authorized to receive, install, remove, and return the banners on an annual basis at no cost to the committee. Thank you.
Wow, that's an incredible initiative, fellas. That's really heartwarming to see. You're in a very short line there, people that are willing to put their money and their efforts where their mouth is instead of where the rest of the critics fall in the really long line. So commend you for that. Council, are there questions or are there comments? Great job all the way around. This is quality of life in our community. Do you want to speak to this a little bit, Mark?
Actually, just if we can show you the banner, the first banner we did.
Love to see that.
That's what it looks like.
Fantastic.
That's for Robert Sovey, who's still with us.
Fantastic.
He's 93 years old. And we had that made up so that we could kind of kickstart this. So
Is it on both sides?
Yep,
Same?
both sides.
Oh, that's fantastic. So it's not just
So they will hang, I believe, facing traffic, right, Ken?
I believe the CAO would like to speak as well.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Mark, why don't you just take a minute and tell the story of the picture? I think,
Picture?
of the picture. I think that's an important component. Let council understand that.
Okay, yes. Actually, Mr. Sovey's picture was taken in front of 17 Poplar Street in Leamington in about 1944, just before he shipped out with the Navy. And we actually superimposed the picture of his ship, which is the HMCS Huron, behind him. So that's actually two photos that have been put together, just so it looks like he's standing in front of his ship, because he really never had a picture of him on the ship in all the years that he was in the Navy. So it came out pretty good, really.
And how old was he in that picture, Mark?
17 or 18 years old. Yeah, he was young. And that's the kind of thing we want to capture for people, you know. I think that's kind of the thought behind the whole thing when we started.
Well, it's recognizing our history as well, which is great. Did you
Sure.
want to speak, Councillor Wilkinson?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a special mention in case people following along at home didn't hear it in the report, but a special thank you to our BIA. We only had 26, I think it was, banner arms out there, so they're going to pick up the extras that are needed to support the 50-some banners. So It was really good of our BIA to do that, I thought, and I think it's worthwhile getting a special mention.
Yes.
Absolutely, all the way around. I think that things like that, initiatives like that make us really proud, and you're adding to the quality of life, as I said. So, did you want to speak, or did you want to move the recommendation? Okay, certainly. So you're moving the recommendation. Let's get a seconder first and then comment. Seconded by Councillor Thiessen. Comment?
Through you, Madam Mayor, it's an excellent initiative. I just love the fact of it, and the fact that you're capturing gentlemen who are still alive, the so few of them that are left are men and women, God bless, and then letting their story out, kudos to you, because it just warms all of our hearts to know they're out there defending us and protecting us. So good job, gentlemen.
Councillor Wilkinson.
Mark, if you wouldn't mind, would you maybe walk us through the process, though, for people at home right now? Let's say they want to get their relative on one of these banners. Can you maybe walk us through that process and who they contact?
Yes. What we will do is once we get council approval, which we hope we do, then we're going to publicize, I think, through Facebook, correct, and probably get a story done in the newspaper. With our contact information, anybody can contact any one of us on the committee. We have a form that people have to fill out. There's a certain criteria to meet, that they have to be connected to Leamington in some way, whether their family's here or they were born here or whatever. And once they meet the criteria, the committee takes a look at it, and once we approve the application, it's going to go to, the South Point Printing is taking care of the artwork and the billing to the families and everything, so all that's handled. The committee doesn't have to get involved, the municipality doesn't have to get involved in any of that. It's going to be a direct sale to the families. And then when the time comes, we'll collect them from the families and then get them to Ken, who will put them up. And then after that, I believe we're going to store them. Jerry's got a place to store them, and we're going to store them flat so they don't get any damage while they're being stored.
Thanks, Mark. And I think it's important to note, I've been in discussions with these gentlemen here. We expect a pretty good reaction to this with only 56 spots to fill. You know, the process, I think the way I've understood it is we're going to go from the oldest member in the most traditional war up to the newest. So if we were to have, let's say, 200 people, for example, were to put in applications this year, we only got room for 56, though. So that would go on to the waiting list afterwards, starting from oldest to the newest, and then we'd have to come back in time and get the rest up. But yes, this group here is anticipating a good reaction to this.
Yeah, we do. We expect it to fill up pretty quickly.
Great. Mr. Neufeld.
It's such a great initiative, then gets the juices flowing a little bit of how we can make this work well. And for the municipality's part, we envision bringing some ideas forward, such as on the Remembrance Day, closing Mill Street to create the opportunity for walking. If it's not a parade, at least people can park in the parking lot, and we can walk down Mill Street from Fox all the way down to the park, and having the banners along the way. Little things like perhaps changing the name of Mill Street to Veterans Way during the 6 or 8 weeks that the banners are flying. So we're hoping to build on this, and it's always great when our residents come forward with an idea that help us out.
Great. The motion's on the floor then. Call the question. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Again, thank you very much for what you've done. Thank you, Ken. Moving on to the Employee and Family Assistance Program, RFP, not VP. Why? VIP. There are way too many initials. Danielle Harrison, please, from the manager of HR.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. So it's recommended that the mayor and clerk be authorized to enter into an agreement with Family Services Employee Assistance Program, or FSEAP, Windsor, Essex, for the provisions of an Employee and Family Assistance Program. The Corporation of the Municipality of Leamington has provided an Employee and Family Assistance Program since at least about 1996. The purpose of the EFAP is to provide counseling services as well as programs that promote healthy lifestyles and a healthy work environment. The services are available to all current full-time staff, fire services staff, retirees, and their families. It has been many years since the municipality went to market for the provisions of this program. Accordingly, administration is issued a request for a proposal, or an RFP, in order to ensure that the municipality receives the best quality program at a reasonable rate. The RFP was issued on November 3rd, 2018, seeking a qualified firm or proponent to provide an EFAP for a term of 4 years. Each proposal was to include information related to the proponent's experience, training, and resources used to provide the services required, and provide 2 cost options for the RFP: an hourly rate for services used and an all-inclusive annual fee for services. The EFAP scope of services will be available to full-time staff, students, part-time staff, retirees, and their families, and will include counseling on a variety of mental health-related issues provided by multiple qualified counselors, dispute conflict resolution services, mediation, health promotion programs, including coaching, naturopathic services, nutrition support services, and smoking cessation, private consultations, emergency critical incident debriefing and counseling on and off-site, family support services, financial resource services, legal resource services, substance abuse services, specialized services for emergency service workers, such as our fire services, workplace stress resources, workplace grief specialist, team building programs, workshops on work-life balance and health and wellness topics, including anger management, elder care, and special needs of children. Statistical reports detailing usage of service, including areas of services, percentage of usage, number of employees utilizing the services. On December 13th, 2018, administration received 3 submissions for the following firms: Family Services Employee Assistance Program, FSEAP, Windsor, Essex, in Windsor, Ontario; LifeWorks by Morneau Chappelle in Toronto, Ontario; and Aspiria in Markham, Ontario. Administration evaluated the proposals based on the following criteria and scoring: proponent qualifications and organization, 20%, local client references, 10%, financial, 30%, availability of services, 15%, and scope of services, 25%. The focus of the evaluation was a qualified professionals to perform the services, the experience of the organization and those qualified professionals, the experience of local clients with the proponent, the cost of the services, as well as any extra cost for services requested, the availability and response time of requested services, and the scope of services offered. At the conclusion of this process, Family Services Employee Assistance Program, Windsor, Essex, was chosen as the preferred proponent. FSEAP is a national provider of EFAPs with 42 years of experience in delivering such programs. It is the only not-for-profit community-based EFAP provider in Canada. The Windsor, Essex office of FSEAP is a self-supporting business division of Family Services Windsor, Essex, a registered not-for-profit charity. Administration is confident that FSEAP will provide a good quality service to the municipalities, employees, and their families. The preferred option submitted by FSEAP is payment of the annual cost of $8,820 for its core services based on $2.10 per employee per month, and an employee base of 350 people. The core services include counseling, work-life consultations, web-based health and wellness resources, account management services, and EFAP and wellness promotion. Core services also include 1 annual critical incident response and 2 lunch and learns. Other services, such as additional lunch and learns or specialized workshops or training, are not included in the core services and are available at an additional cost. This is a significant savings to the municipality and expands this important resources to part-time staff and students to ensure all staff have access to these supports, and as well within the 2019 budget, and this also includes council.
Thanks, Danielle. Now, I'm assuming this is a different agency than who we used before?
Yes, so this is, before we had Corporate Wellness Center, so this would be replacing that service.
Certainly sounds like there's lots of new benefits to this provider, so that's fantastic that we've got them on board. Comments or questions from council? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worthy Mayor. Danielle, I guess it's good to always see that it's well within the 2019 budget. And I guess the other percentage there, what do you actually think the total cost would be based on your $820 and the $210 per month per employee? Do you have a total, or I guess I want to know what we were budgeted for, because it was, I don't want to say it was, I didn't see it, and also what were the tenders coming in as, like, is there a big discrepancy?
So they were actually the lowest. Between the three services, there was probably about a $3,000 spread. So the $8,820 is the annual cost. So the only time we would pay extra is if we have any outside mediation we need or any extra lunch and learns. I can't see it going over $11,000, which is what we have budgeted for. Before we were paying $17,000. So it's a big cost savings for us, for sure.
Again, great all the way around. So, council, the recommendation, moved by Councillor Thiessen, seconded by Councillor Dunn. All in favor? And that's carried. Thanks, Danielle.
Thank you.
Moving on to the tree canopy policy, Mr. Sharon.
Thank you, Your Worship. Section 270 of the Municipal Act requires municipalities to adopt and maintain policies which describe the manner in which they will maintain and enhance a municipal tree policy. So before council tonight is our recommended policy to have the municipality explicitly compliant to that particular regulation. As council will note, the policy isn't extraordinarily long, and that is because we do already have a policy in place with regards to how we will deal with all of our trees on our public lands, and that's included in the report. In addition to that, we also have requirements in our official plan that requires tree plantings of various nature based on the type of development. So the policy is before council for any questions.
Great, thank you, Rob. Questions from council? If there are no questions, I would entertain a motion. Moved by Councillor Wilkinson, seconded by, I think, the Deputy Mayor. Well, perhaps not. Seconded by Paul Thiessen, Councillor Thiessen, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. On to the Integrity Commissioner Award. And that would be Ms. Orton, please.
Thank you, Mayor McDonald. As council is aware, there were amendments to the Municipal Act which come into force on March 1st, 2019. One of them is that all municipalities must have a code of conduct, which the municipality currently does have. However, a new one is being proposed, and that will be considered by council likely in April. Another amendment requires that all municipalities provide access to an integrity commissioner. Again, the municipality has had an integrity commissioner for a number of years. However, because of the new requirements of the integrity commissioner, it was prudent to request proposals in this regard. The integrity commissioner must provide advice regarding council's code of conduct, the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, and that advice is provided to members of council. Also, the Integrity Commissioner is to provide education to members of council, local boards, and the public regarding codes of conduct and the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. The Integrity Commissioner also has responsibilities to conduct inquiries upon complaint in connection with breaches of the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act and Code of Conduct by members of council and local boards, and may investigate complaints from electors in this regard. Once completing an investigation, an Integrity Commissioner also has the power to decide to apply to a judge for a determination as to whether the member contravened the Conflict of Interest Act. As I indicated, there is a current Integrity Commissioner, that is Robert Swayze, but in order to incorporate these new provisions into a contract, the municipality issued this request for proposal on January 23rd. Proposals were accepted until February 13th, 2019. Proponents were required to submit as part of their proposal information regarding their qualifications, being their education, designations, experience, and training required in relation to the provision of all of these services. Those qualifications were to include information regarding their impartiality and neutrality, their wisdom and judgment, ability to provide the services on a part-time, flexible, and as-needed basis, their ethical standards, their experience managing sensitive inquiries, conducting investigations and making recommendations, communication skills in all media, familiarity with investigatory procedures, applicable legal principles, particularly relating to evidence, legal interpretation, and rules of natural justice, knowledge of and appreciation for municipal government, ability to interpret and apply provisions of statutes, regulations, policy, and enabling documents, their senior level management, legal, tribunal, or judicial experiences, and experience with other municipalities or government agencies. They were also required to provide a description of their plan for the provision of the services, being how work would be assigned and performed, for cost effectiveness and avoidance of duplication, and information as to how they would handle multiple contracts, their response times, and their processes to be followed. Provide client references and a detailed fee schedule. Proposals were received from 3 firms, Robert Swayze, ADR Chambers, and MNP LLP. Administration completed the evaluation of the proposals based on their qualifications at 50%, their cost at 25%, the plan for provision of service at 15%, and the references at 10%. It was the focus of administration to ensure that the recommended proponent would be in a position to provide the highest standards of service expeditiously and at a reasonable cost, given the nature of the opinions to be rendered and advice to be provided to members of council and local boards. At the conclusion of the process, ADR Chambers was chosen as the preferred proponent. ADR is the largest alternative dispute resolution organization in the world. It specializes in conducting investigations, providing Integrity Commissioner services, as well as arbitration, mediation, and other dispute resolution services. ADR has been operating an Office of Integrity Commissioner since 2011. It has a team of approximately 25 employees and 60 panel members who are investigators, Integrity Commissioners, ombudsmen, arbitrators, and mediators. The Integrity Commissioner proposed by ADR is Charles Harnick. Mr. Harnick was an elected member of the Ontario Legislature from 1990 to 1999 and is the former Attorney General of Ontario. He has been practicing law for over 40 years. When Mr. Harnick requires assistance, Ernie Eves, Deborah Anschnell, Marvin Huberman, Ann Morris, and Michael Maynard may be assigned as investigators. Mr. Eves has a long career in public service, including serving as the Premier of Ontario, retiring from the legislature in 2005. Ms. Anshal has practiced law for 20 years and has acted as Integrity Commissioner for several municipalities. Mr. Huberman has over 30 years of experience practicing law and has served as an administrative law judge. Ms. Morris is an adjudicator and an arbitrator for a number of federal and provincial tribunals. And Mr. Maynard has a background in political and public policy matters and as a mediator. The qualifications of ADR, together with its focused plan for the provision of services at a reasonable cost, provides the grounds for administration to recommend that ADR be appointed as Integrity Commissioner. The term would commence March 1st, 2019, and the 2019 budget includes funds in the amount of $50,000 for services of the Integrity Commissioner. It is recommended that Council appoint ADR Chambers, Inc. as Integrity Commissioner for a term of 2 years, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute an agreement with them in a form satisfactory to the municipality's solicitor, and further be authorized to execute any further or other documents required to effect such appointment.
Thank you, Ruth. And this is something we have no choice over. We have to have an integrity commissioner. So just for anyone asking that question. Council, questions? Moved by, excuse me, the deputy mayor, seconded by Councilor Dunn with a question.
Through you, Madam Mayor. This was you had a set of criteria to be met, so it wasn't just based on price. What was the closest price with regard to the other constituents, or the other people putting in for this RFP?
This was not the top candidate when it came to that particular criteria. They were all fairly close together. Because there are a number of people that would be responding to inquiries or providing advice, there was a sliding scale of fees for each individual, whereas the other proponents had only one price for one person that was submitting. Also, there were fees for travel in connection with some of the proponents, not with this particular proponent. So there were different scenarios that were proposed. However, as I indicated, the qualifications, and given the weight of the qualifications that was applied, put this proponent in the best position overall.
And further, so you couldn't really say that one was $10,000 cheaper, because some have criteria of expenses, as you just said, and alluded to other things that would change it up when it came to the price.
Yes, because this is not a lump sum contract, it's based on a fee for service. I can't say that there was a specific spread in the contract price. It was just based on the hourly rate for the persons proposed to provide the services.
Okay, the question's on the floor. All in favor? And that's carried. Thanks, Ruth. So moving on to matters for approval, there are none. Other matters for consideration, there are none. Report on closed session, we'll turn to the clerk.
A closed meeting was held at 5:30 p.m. prior to the open session of the council meeting pursuant to subsection 239(2)(c) of the Municipal Act for the purpose of considering one item. Confidential report LLS 1919 dated February 13th, 2019 regarding potential acquisition of waterfront lands. Council provided direction to administration with regard to the matter. Proper notice of the meeting was given and the meeting adjourned at 6:10 p.m.
Thank you, Ms. Percy. So then, consideration of bylaws.
Bylaw 11-19, a bylaw to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 890-09 for the municipality of Leamington pertaining to the subject land ZBA 187, 803, and 813 Mercia Road 6. Bylaw 12-19 being a bylaw to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 890-09 for the municipality of Leamington pertaining to the subject land ZBA 188, 612 County Road 37. Bylaw 13-19 being a bylaw to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 890-09, Municipality of Leamington, which pertains to the subject land ZBA 184, 1209, and 1211 Mercy Road 7. Bylaw 15-19, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on February 19th and 20th, 2019. Bylaw 16-19 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the municipality of Leamington at its meeting held February 26, 2019.
Thank you, Brenda. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Dunn. Comments or questions? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Now we're moving on to notices of motion, and this notice of motion is regarding the installation of a pedestrian crossing on Erie Street South to replace the existing courtesy crossing, and that was introduced at the February 12th, 2019 council meeting. Yes, can I turn that over to you then, Brenda?
Thank you, Your Worship. There is an error on the agenda. It's actually being introduced tonight. It was provided to the clerk at the last meeting, so it would be back for discussion and debate at the next council meeting, unless council wishes to waive the rules of procedure to hear it this evening, and it would require unanimous vote.
So, council, are you prepared to hear it this evening? Question from the Deputy Mayor.
We're the mayor, so at least we have 5 of us here tonight. The next meeting, how many will be here? So we're going to lose probably another person. I would like to see it heard tonight.
Okay, then do we need a motion to hear this notice of motion this evening? Councillor Dunn, do you have a question? Go
Thank you,
ahead.
Madam Mayor. My question is regarding, because of the Deputy Mayor's concern of how many members are here, could we push it off until April when all of us are here? I'm just saying, because your concern was making sure that most of us are here to speak to this.
Yes, that's possible. So it would be introduced this evening, and if council wishes, we can bring it back for the first council meeting in April that all are in attendance, if it's okay with the mover and the seconder as well.
We're the mayor, another question. Is through administration, through Peter, through Rob, through anybody, is there an option 3, an option 4 that we forgot about or didn't look at? Because I know what my option would be. It would just be, I don't want to discuss it, so we can't discuss it. So then, anyway, I'm done.
We can't discuss it, but the motion's on the floor to...
Your Worship, when the way that the procedural bylaw is written is that when a notice of motion or a notice of reconsideration is brought forward, it's placed, the information, the introduction of it is placed, given to the clerk before the agenda is prepared. It's on the next council meeting agenda, which is this evening. So this evening it's actually being introduced, but when it's brought forward, there's a mover and a seconder when you're essentially introducing it, and that was the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Thiessen. So if they agree to having it come back in April, that's what administration will do.
And we can discuss that, or they can discuss it? No? Do I just ask them if they're willing to? Are the mover and the seconder willing to have this come back in April? When? Okay, they're both wanting to do it right now, so I need a motion to discuss this, or make a decision, actually, not just discussion, right, this evening. And it has to be unanimous, moved by, to discuss it tonight. Moved by, Councillor Thiessen? Okay, moved by Councillor Thiessen, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? And that is unanimous.
So now the motion that is before you, that was passed at the December 17th meeting, is on the overhead for discussion.
Did you want me to read it, or are you okay with what it says? Okay, I'm ready for the discussion to begin, starting with the Deputy Mayor.
Where the mayor wasn't so long ago when there was a change of use on a building on Oak Street that all council and administration, everybody got up in arms because it could be quite possible that the high school students could cross anywhere they wanted to go to the other side of the road. So they put up a fence. They put up a fence all the way, and they're trying to get them to cross at the light on Westmoreland or the trail. I think, and talking to other former employees there, in the 70s when it wasn't there, they had no problem, but then I commented that you could judge the cars then to cross. So I made this because since that courtesy crossing is there, I guess I'm going to ask a legal question now. Who's liable if we remove it? Because it happened to me yesterday. I stopped for a lady and then went back and came back, and a man just put up his arm and walked across under the canopy, so nowhere near the courtesy crossing. They probably have to get to A to B, side to side, east to west, but I think that we should look at just removing them, warranted, because I still see, you want that gateway to go through, you want traffic to flow. Cutting it down to 3 lanes right there is going to bottleneck it, and I believe it's going to create more problems.
Okay, anyone else? Councillor Thiessen.
I agree. I think that is a major thoroughfare through there, and cutting it down to 3 is going to create its own issues. I've had the same issue where from the time I go from the stoplight to where the crossing is now, 3 people have crossed the street in 3 different locations. They're not using the crossing as it is now. And if we put another crossing there, they won't use it then either. They're crossing willy-nilly wherever they want to go. I think the safest thing to do is, first of all, they need to be educated to go down to the controlled crossing that is already there. The safest place for them to cross is is right at the intersection. And people are going to continue to cross. They're crossing all over town. It doesn't matter where you go. People cross wherever they want to cross. What we have there currently is not safe. Putting in the pedestrian crossing, I've seen people go through there. I've seen people not pushing the button and walking across and causing traffic to stop. I still believe the safest thing to do is pull this right out, educate them to go down to the corner. The other thing is the majority of these people are Highbury Canco employees, and they have another option, and that is to use their own bridge across Erie Street. So they've got options there. I think we just need to close that area right off for crossing.
Anyone else want to speak to this? Councillor Wilkinson.
Sure. I'm glad to see this come back. My opinion hasn't changed since the last time we talked about this, and yes, I wasn't in favor of the PXO going in here. I understand where our staff comes to us and says we've identified a problem, we got to do something about it. I hear that, and I would say to what this council, I would suggest is what we are given direction on is to take that back to Highbury Canco with direction that they need to educate their workers. Like Paul said, go to the corner or up and over. That is the direction from council. Would be my suggestion to say that we did do something after we've identified a problem and save the taxpayers a bunch of money on this, and stop, like Larry said, we're going to create a bottleneck there, possibly that's worse. I agree with that. So I'm still where I was a few weeks ago when we talked about this originally. I'm glad to see it back, and yes, I'd be happy not to support a PXO there.
Mr. Sharon, did you want to speak to this?
Your Worship, and this is not to prejudge the direction of council. Council's going to vote on this matter. But what I would suggest, in the original report, we had included 3 options with regard to the pedestrian crossing itself, and then a fourth do-nothing option, essentially, that talked about changing out some signage. If it's council's wishes, what I would prefer is an opportunity, so if it's council's wish is basically to keep 4 lanes of traffic, 2 through lanes in either direction, that direction can be provided to us, and then what I would like to do is go back and then bring a report back to council to say, here are the recommendations now. So council has said, keep it 4 lanes, 2 lanes in either direction, and I would like the opportunity to go through and determine, do we change the signage? Do we perhaps pass a bylaw to prohibit pedestrian crossing within a certain area there? There is sidewalk that comes through the boulevard that essentially defines that crossing. We may want to remove that so that we're not promoting crossing there and putting in a barrier curb. So really just to look at, what the options should be, should council say, keep both lanes of traffic in both directions.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Councillor Dunn.
You, Madam Mayor, my question is for administration regarding the fact if we do pull this crosswalk that's been there 20 years and somebody does get hurt without doing would that come back to us? Could we potentially be sued over that? That was my always concern, and that's why I felt that the crosswalk should just stay and go into the 3 lanes is to protect us against any future litigation, since it's been there for a while.
There's always the risk of litigation. The municipality would be named in litigation generally almost any time there's an accident at some kind of a controlled crossing or a former controlled crossing. As to whether the municipality ultimately is found liable, that would all depend upon the facts. Certainly, sometimes pedestrians are found contributorily negligent in certain cases like that. The driver of the vehicles are always named. The municipality has some protection based on the provisions of the Municipal Act for policy decisions that it makes. But I think the focus, of course, should always be ensuring the safety of the public in any decision that council makes. So that should just be one of the primary considerations that you should have in cases like this.
And it's my thought that it's great to, I think that the report coming back would be more helpful to us. I think that if you have, I know you say that you go up the stairs and go over across on their canopy and then back down again. I don't think that's going to be, or go down to the lights and turn around, come back up and go back over to the other side. I don't think that's going to be convenient, so I think that they'll still be trying to cross. So I don't know. I'm not sure that I'm for canceling the crosswalk.
Deputy Mayor.
Through the mayor, thanks. I just want to make sure that Highbury, I don't want to say on notice, but is aware that if we, I gotta watch how I wear this because I want to use that double negative do. If we consider doing the 3 lanes, that they are aware that they're not going to have their so-called bump-ins. So the shoe guy won't park there, Gillett if they're doing the roof, so they're going to lose 6 or 8 parking spots. I hope they're aware of that too, so I hope they come to the table too to notice that, because in the report, that's what's going to happen if you do put the PXO in.
CAO, Mr. CAO.
When this notice of motion came forward, my office sent a notice to the Human Resource Department at Highbury-Canco, letting them know that this was coming forward and that this may be discussed again in the future. We'll make sure that they are notified of the meeting where, if we move forward providing a report to council, we'll make sure that they are notified of that meeting.
If I can just speak to this, and this will mean that I'm changing my mind. I was trying to find a quote here by Winston Churchill, who comments on people changing their mind. Basically, if you never change your mind, you never change anything. I know we have one critic in particular who loves to sit on social media and accuse council of changing their mind, and this is for you, Mr. F. I've changed my mind because I drove down Erie South one day, and actually probably it was 3 weeks ago, and I was looking ahead, and I was thinking about whatever errand I needed to run on Erie Street South, and the next thing I knew, the lane opposite, people were stopped, and I thought, what are they stopping for? And at the last moment, I saw a lady, but she was watching me and saw that I had no intention of stopping. It scared the daylights out of me. I believe I shook for another 15 minutes. And I got thinking about what my attitude is when I drive down Erie South. I try to pay attention to what am I thinking about. After I go through that intersection going south, I'm starting to accelerate, and I'm already looking further than the Hines property. I'm already looking down to where Countess Street is. I'm not paying really as much attention. And I pay attention when I pull out of my driveway. I have to make sure that I look at the point that's maybe 8 feet to my right and then 20 feet to my right to make sure I don't miss any cars that are coming. I think we get so used to driving that we're always looking farther than we should or further than we should. Coming towards town, same thing. My eye's already on that light. I'm not expecting that person to cross. And to you, Mr. Dunn, that wasn't 20 years ago. I was on this council when we changed that crosswalk because we felt that people were crossing without anything. We thought it would make it safer. It obviously hasn't. It hasn't made it safer when there's been accidents. And today, it was an executive that was walking across. I wanted to roll down the window and say, shame on you. It just isn't a safe place to cross. I don't think if we put lights in, it will be more dangerous because I still think people won't be paying attention. They'll be accelerating. They'll be having their eye on the stoplight. They won't even be paying attention to that. And then I got thinking, and why should we, the taxpayers, be paying for a change that should be made by Highbury Canco? They need to change their employees' way of thinking. They need to teach them a new way. And I've changed my mind on this. Quite frankly, if I hadn't had that close call, I might have still thought the same way. So I have definitely changed my mind. I think it's time to remove that ability, or at least we're directing people to cross there. I think we need to remove that direction and suggest to them, whether it's through signage or whatever, or through impetus from the employer, that they need not to cross there. We need to advise them that it isn't our responsibility, it's the company's responsibility, and ultimately it's the employee's responsibility to be safe and cross in a proper spot. So I have changed my mind. So with that, can I ask you to give us direction? Thank you, Ms. Person.
So council waived, obviously, the rules to discuss it tonight. So the motion is on the floor, is moved by Larry Verbeke, or Deputy Mayor Verbeke and Councillor Thiessen, so it just requires a vote now on whether or not you wish to reconsider it. If it passes, then if council wishes, Rob will bring that report back.
For that report to be brought back, is that direction, or will that be a motion? Direction? Okay, so then the recommendation was to reconsider. So it needs to be a majority vote, does not have to be unanimous. So for reconsideration, all in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. So the direction is, Rob, if you could do a report giving us some options, some particulars. Appreciate that. Thank you. So then we're moving on. Oh, Deputy Mayor.
Sorry, I didn't.
No problem.
I just, always when I don't like using the word defer, but are we giving a timeline? Are we saying mid-April? I don't know how long administration needs to get stuff done. Do we have it in place, say May 1st, we shoot for that it'll be in place so that we hear it, so hopefully all the council's here. I guess we're looking for a date. I don't know. Sorry. Go ahead.
Mr. Neufeld.
I believe that there is some urgency to this decision. Administration will bring it back as quickly as we can, and I would suggest that it will be in the month of April.
Great, thank you. Moving on to open session. Council or administration? Deputy Mayor.
Well, lots happened since we last talked. I won't get into that because the only thing that really is making me sad is that we're losing. Brianna is here for the last night, and I'm very upset that the competition has taken her. I wish her all the best, and thank you. It's been good getting to know you, and I got to stop now.
I've never seen the Deputy Mayor choked up, Brianna. We all wish you the best. Deputy Mayor, not Deputy Mayor, sorry, Mr. CEO.
Yeah, that was going to be my my note as well, that Brianna Coughlin is our legislative coordinator, and she joined us about 2 years ago, not quite 2 years ago, and has she has really professionalized many of our processes. Brianna has joined the municipality of Lakeshore as their clerk, I believe. Is that right, Brianna, as your clerk? And so we want to wish Brianna every success in your future endeavors, and this is one of those occasions where I actually congratulate Lakeshore on hiring such a high-quality, excellent person. So thank you. Good luck in the future.
Well, I guess I'll go over a couple of the things that I've done in the last 2 weeks. We went to the Royal Canadian Air Cadets, and I had the opportunity to fly a simulator, which has to be one of the highlights of my life. I dumped it upside down the first time, but after that I was able to fly down the Detroit River. It was amazing. It was a really cool thing to do, and it's going to be available for people to work towards their pilot license, renew their pilot license, and so on. So that was great. I was also fortunate enough to be able to meet with the Ministry of Tourism. We talked about strategy and so on that's going on in our area. I was there with TWEPI, our own tourism person, Kira Knapp, which was great. The Deputy Mayor and myself, actually Councillor Wilkinson was there, Councillor Hammond. We went to the ABI Systems ribbon cutting, but the best part of it was getting to have breakfast with Walter Gretzky. That was pretty cool. Then last week we spent 2 days working on budget, so our budget is now approved at 1.8%. Lots of work, due diligence done on everyone's part. Administration brought forth a great budget. Lots of great information and very clear for those of us who are not math professionals. It was great. And then tomorrow we have the Lieutenant Governor coming to Leamington. She's been to other places, particularly Lakeshore, but she's spending half a day with Leamington. So we'll be meeting with her. There'll be a round table, people from the community discussing the greenhouse industry and its effect on our community. We'll be touring a greenhouse and also having lunch with her. So we're very fortunate that she's spending as much time here as she is. And then myself and the Deputy Mayor are off to Ottawa to do planting some seeds, talking about the north. I prefer to call it planting seeds, talking about the North Trunk Sewer to see if we can get some headway there. And that should be it then. Until we meet again. Good night. Thank you. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Thiessen, Councillor Dunn, all in favor, and that's carried. Thank you.